And good morning, I'm Susan Raff. Eric Parker is off today. We begin our program looking at the death of UnitedHealthcare CEO Brian Thompson and the outrage that followed, not targeted at his killer, but targeted at him, the murder victim. There were countless comments posted on social media that Thompson's death was warranted because the healthcare company he led was denying health claims. There's been an outpouring of support for the man arrested in the crime, Luigi Mangione. His lawyer telling CNN this past week that he's received multiple offers from people wanting to pay for his defense. What does that say about our society when an alleged killer isn't condemned, but the victim is? Now, joining us to talk this morning on CT24 about that is Dr. Monika Lopez, who is an economics professor at Connecticut College, and we want to welcome you to CT24.
Thank you for having me.
This is really a story that captivated a lot of people this week, and we're still talking about it. A horrendous murder outside a New York hotel where I believe this CEO for UnitedHealthcare was making a presentation to shareholders. And what we've seen in the following weeks is not sympathy necessarily for the murder victim, but the man who is now in custody and is believed to be the suspect in this killing.
Absolutely. I think that this rage goes beyond the Brian Thompson, right? And it's I condemn any attempt at violence to anyone, but there are these false equivalences that are happening, right? Where people are frustrated at a particular sector and they take it out on a person. So I think that is what is happening. And you couple that with social media, where it is a highly toxic environment, right? And where people are not their best selves, and then you add a hot topic, and so no empathy will happen. And in fact, the murderer will be seen as a folk hero, erroneously so.
Right, and in this case, the suspect, Mangione, is being vilified for doing something that many people feel is right. Murder is not right. In addition to some people wanting to pay his defense, there's also quite a bit of backlash on the employees at McDonald's who spotted him at their restaurant in Pennsylvania and notified authorities because they recognized him from some of the video images. So they felt that they were doing the right thing, and I think many of us would agree that they did. If someone killed your family or my family, I would like to know that the public was interested in getting someone behind bars. But now that employee at McDonald's is facing harassment and death threats.
Exactly. I completely agree with you. The problem is that there are two sides, but they're not really two sides, but people are seeing it as justice, right? And it's a very simplistic and erroneous way of taking things. It's like, why is this person not on my side? The McDonald's employee, for example, right? When I completely agree with you that murder is murder and is incorrect no matter who gets murdered. So I completely agree with you. Absolutely.
And I think without question, a lot of people agree that insurance or health insurance in this country is at a breaking point, right? Americans are paying more than ever for health insurance. I believe it's the #1 reason for debt in this country. And even though Americans have health insurance, unfortunately, their premiums are very high. And in many cases, they get bills that only cover part of whatever they're having done. So there's no question, I think, that people are upset about that. But the way to go about it might be, and more productive, would be to get involved with your community and your state legislators and try to push for some reform. So I understand the frustration and the anger. But it doesn't necessarily give people the right and be justified to killing people who are running companies.
You're absolutely correct. So many issues, right, with our healthcare system, the most expensive one in the world, and yet our health outcomes aren't the best, right? They're quite low compared to other countries who spend less. And then if you look at the health insurance system, that has gotten increasingly more profitable. If you look at the Fortune 500 companies in the United States, top 10, it turns out that UnitedHealthcare is number 4, right? The fourth most revenue generating company, only behind Walmart, Amazon, and Apple. Then comes UnitedHealthcare. But not only UnitedHealthcare, 4 healthcare companies are in the top 10, including, say, CVS, et cetera, right? So there's this increasing resentment whereby healthcare reforms such as the Affordable Care Act tried to increase people who got insurance, right? So now the number of people without insurance has dropped from 18% in 2010 to 8%, but being insured doesn't mean being covered, right? So you can have insurance, pay for health insurance every month, and still be denied. So as a matter of fact, UnitedHealthcare denies about a third of all claims, where the average nationwide is 16%. So it denies claims at twice the rate, and the ranges are between 2 and 49%. So that contributes to the increasing frustration and inequality of our society.
Right, we have about a minute left, but I also want to address, and it's not just healthcare now that's concerned, right? This has sent shockwaves to companies all over, any kind of corporate CEOs. I would imagine security is going to be a lot tighter. But how do we go forward from this, in this kind of approach and society where it's okay to be violent? I mean, we saw that on January 6th as well. People are angry, people are frustrated, but taking down the government and shooting people and hurting them is not the answer.
Absolutely. So Brian Thompson was considered actually an advocate to improve the system, to increase universal health coverage through a private system. At the same time, during his tenure, profits soared at UnitedHealthcare, as the claims. I think 2 things would make a lot of sense. One is increasing regulation of the health insurance company, right? So that the denial claims and rates are not this exorbitant, right? The other issue that we have, unfortunately, in our country, which transcends the health insurance industry, is the availability and accessibility of guns and firearms, right? So we know that Brian Thompson was murdered with a ghost gun that can literally be made in your own home. It has no serial number, right? And is easy to make. So that is another solution, right? To reduce the murder rates, to not have so many guns. It's a very difficult solution, but this is a cry for help, that people shouldn't be able to have such easy access to guns and to even be able to make them at their home.
There's so much to talk about here, and so much that we haven't, and I hope we've addressed some of it. But we want to thank you, Monika, Professor of Economics at Connecticut College, and we hope to have you back. Thank you very much for joining us on CT24.